They vanished from a quiet yard in the space of a morning, and now every small detail is being hunted for meaning. A viewer from Billings, Montana tossed out one of the possibilities people whisper about at kitchen tables and online forums, that the mother, Malehya, quietly sent Jack and Lily to stay with someone safe, away from a partner whose temper may have been slipping. It's a theory that fits a lot of the puzzle pieces people see: bruises in photographs, a home with tensions, a mother who went quiet afterward. Before I go on, hit subscribe and tap the bell. We'll keep tracking every development in this story and you'll get updates the moment they drop. What makes that Montana viewer's idea stick with so many is the image of the children themselves. When people look at the photos that have circulated, they don't just see faces, they see evidence. Jack with marks around his eyes, Lily with a bruise of her own. Those images push people to fill silence with explanation. If you know anything about how communities process pain and confusion, this is familiar territory. In the absence of straight answers, stories form quickly. They're sometimes right, sometimes wrong, and sometimes both, layered together until it's hard to tell which is which. So let's step back and look at what's actually been done and what remains unknown. The RCMP and volunteer search teams treated the disappearance like an emergency from the first day. Helicopters moved slowly over treetops, drones swept narrow gaps in the canopy, dogs ran trails until their handlers had to call them back. Search crews dragged culverts, checked wells and septic tanks, and walked mile after mile through dense woods. Investigators pulled thousands of hours of video and images from cameras on roads and from private devices, and they followed up on hundreds of tips. Yet despite that scale of effort, no confirmed trace of the children has been found. No items belonging to them beyond the pieces of a pink blanket, no reliable sighting that placed them somewhere after the morning they disappeared. That absence is the single detail that changes everything. It's what lets theories like the Montana viewers take hold. There are two broad ways people explain a disappearance with no trace. Either the children left the immediate area under some sort of supervision, or something happened that left no recoverable evidence where searchers were looking. The first option, that they were moved intentionally and quietly, fits with the idea that a parent might have made a split decision to protect the kids from harm. It also fits with the fact that massive search operations turned up nothing. The second option, that something happened in the woods or nearby that erased their trail, is harder to square with the number of boots and dogs that combed the area. Both ideas are plausible to someone who has watched enough true crime coverage to know that missing person cases rarely follow neat patterns. To consider whether a protective handoff could have happened, it helps to understand the family context in the days and weeks before May 2nd. Public records and interviews paint pieces of a normal, busy household: errands, a trip to a Dollarama, time visiting relatives, but where people saw normal routine, others saw tension. Neighbors, social media threads, and some family members have described arguments, times where discipline may have crossed lines, and nights when the adults' accounts of events shifted slightly. In disappointing times like this, the small changes matter. A bedtime noted as 9 o'clock on one retelling, 10 o'clock in another, and officers later notes that trim away facts the public previously believed. Those small differences open the door to bigger questions. Psychologists who work with families in crisis will tell you that secrets and small tricks can feel like survival in a dangerous household. A parent fearing for their children's safety might plan a quiet way out, not because they want to break rules, but because they feel trapped and desperate. That could mean sending the kids to a relative's home for a few days, handing them over to a friend who promises to watch them, or even preparing a short trip that feels like an escape. Those choices aren't clean or heroic in a legal sense, and they can carry huge consequences. If a well-meaning but illegal choice were made, it might explain why a mother would be silent afterward, to protect the safety of the children she thinks she saved, or to avoid immediate legal exposure. For many people, that possibility reads like a kind of heartbreaking logic. At the same time, we must be careful about letting emotion outpace evidence. Law enforcement has been clear in court filings and public statements that investigators have not established grounds to treat this as a criminal case, at least not yet. That phrasing matters. Investigators have collected items, run polygraph tests, checked phones and bank records, and sought judicial permissions to access data. The records released in redacted form show a painstaking, methodical approach. Look everywhere, test everything. Polygraph results that were reported as truthful for several family members are only one small piece of a complex puzzle. A polygraph isn't a full answer. It's a tool investigators sometimes use to narrow possibilities, not to convict. If we return to the image that started this conversation, the bruises, they add another layer of emotion and interpretation. People naturally react to images of children with injuries. Those reactions often move faster than the facts and can drive narratives in powerful ways. Part of what fuels belief in theories like secret relocation is a very human response. Protect the injured. If a mother sees marks on her kids and believes they came from a partner's anger, drastic action might feel like the only option. But the same images can feed suspicion in others. Why were the children injured in the first place, and who is responsible? In the court of public opinion, marks on a child's face are heavy evidence, but courts and investigators must treat them with care and tie them into verified timelines and context. That brings us to the behavior of adults at the center of the case. Malehya's relative quiet since the disappearance has been read in multiple ways. Some see a mother who is protecting a plan, keeping quiet to make sure her children stay safe. Others see evasiveness, a refusal to publicly grieve that shifts suspicion her way. Daniel's conduct, he volunteered for polygraphs and said he was exhausted from searching, complicates matters. Passing a polygraph reduces immediate suspicion, but it doesn't erase all questions in the public mind, especially when visual cues suggest the children suffered harm. When investigators describe the work they have done, GPS traces, CCTV requests from highways and tolls, phone and banking records, it shows the scale of effort required to cut through the fog of competing stories and rumor. The way communities respond to cases like this is another important thread. People gather, light candles, put up flyers, and search with flashlights in the dark. That communal pull is a force for good. More eyes can find what a single team misses. But social media and online sleuthing change the speed and volume of information. They can help quickly spread a sighting that leads to a new search. They can also amplify false claims, sow division, and launch personal attacks. In the Sullivan case, the volume of online theories has been enormous, and that noise makes it harder for careful investigation and for families who may want privacy. The Montana viewer's comment is one example of how a thoughtful theory can ripple out and become part of a larger, sometimes toxic discussion. Comparisons to other high-profile missing child cases are inevitable. People bring up JonBenet Ramsey, Madeleine McCann, or Summer Wells not because all circumstances match, but because the arc of public suspicion is familiar. Intense media attention, rapid online theorizing, suspicion that falls on parents, and a long, slow grind for evidence. Those cases show two truths that matter here. First, public passion can keep a case alive in ways that matter. Second, premature judgment can be destructive. Investigators must balance transparency with the need to protect the integrity of the evidence. A difficult dance when the public is demanding answers every hour. So where does that leave us? The Montana viewer's idea, that Malehya moved the children to protect them, is one of several possibilities that explain the absence of evidence. It's compelling because it neatly accounts for silence. It matches how some stressed parents might react when they see physical harm to their children, and it fits with the frustrating fact that exhaustive searches turned up almost nothing. Yet it also raises fresh questions. If they were moved, where are they now? Why hasn't a friend or relative come forward? Why hasn't a safe return been arranged? If they weren't moved, what could erase all traces of two small children from a well-searched area? Honesty requires us to hold both the power of the idea and its limits in our heads at the same time. Human beings are story-making animals. We pull threads together to make meaning. In this case, that urge is complicated by grief, fear, and the stark reality of missing children. We must be careful not to let our desire for narrative become a substitute for investigation. That's as true for armchair theorists as it is for journalists and investigators. Speculation without verification can lead to wasted time, harmed reputations, and even harmful interference in the search for truth. But speculation also can have value when it prompts action. If someone believes the children were moved, that belief could spur calls to check with relatives, review travel records, and re-examine border crossings or shelter records. That's how tips become breakthroughs. The challenge is to channel public interest into verifiable leads, not into accusations that poison the atmosphere around legitimate inquiries. Law enforcement needs community eyes and ears, and the public needs clear, careful guidance on what to report and how to do it constructively. Right now, the most important thing is simple. If you know something, anything, call the investigators. If you were in the area on the morning the children went missing and you saw a car parked on the shoulder, a child walking with an adult, or something that looked like two kids being led somewhere, that detail matters. If you know a friend or relative who suddenly took in two children around that time, that matters. The absence of answers is not a reason to invent them. It's a reason to look harder, to check records, to cross-reference, and to stay patient with the slow work of evidence. At the end of this strange, painful story is a human family whose life has been upended and two small children who deserve to be found. For every theory offered from miles away, there are people in Pictou County who wake up to the same weight and keep searching. Neighbors, volunteers, and family members who continue to knock on doors and walk trails. For every hot take online, there are investigators quietly testing samples and comparing timestamps. Both the public passion and the painstaking official work are part of the same machinery that might one day bring an answer. So keep watching and keep your eyes open. If you're willing, subscribe and turn on notifications, not to feed speculation but to stay informed the moment verified updates arrive. Spread the word about official hotlines instead of unverified rumors. And if you are someone who holds a piece of the puzzle, step forward. Time matters in these cases, but so does caution. Move with facts, not just feeling. Until we know more, we live with a handful of terrible possibilities. They were moved, they were taken, or they were lost in a way we still cannot see. Each of those possibilities asks for a different kind of response: careful investigation, community outreach, and respect for the enormity of a family's loss. Whatever your opinion, the one thing we must not forget is that two children are missing, and every verified fact brought forward with care is a step closer to finding them. Don't let the story become only a debate. Let it be a call to action. If you have anything that could help, call the Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit or Crime Stoppers. Keep watching, keep listening, and keep hope steady, because the only thing that brings these stories to an end is the truth. And the truth, in this case, won't be found in speculation alone. It will be found in the slow, stubborn work of evidence, memory, and people finally willing to speak up.